Hello guys, this is your friend Shinobi Addict 2.0 and we are back with a new fanfic. Which is what if Naruto and Temari are arranged to marry after the attack on Konoha by the Sound and Sand Part 1. And if you enjoy this fanfic then please press the like button and subscribe to my channel for more fanfic like this. And now let's start the fanfic. Temari was back in the hidden sand village and was cloud watching. Now normally she didn't do this, but since the attack on the Hidden Leaf village she had gained an infatuation with a boy. Anyone who looked at her behavior knew it, but they guessed it was the one she fought in the Chunin exam, Shikamaru, but they'd be wrong. Gaara was the only one who knew for sure, and only because he read her diary. Naruto Uzumaki. He murmured to himself. You'd better not break her heart. Gaara knew that Naruto was a good guy. After all, he managed to save Gaara from himself. Temari suddenly jumped when a sand anbu appeared right above of her. Temari, the council wishes to see you. Me. What for? It normally was unusual that the council would call on a genin, but she was the daughter of the now late Kazekage. I was only told to retrieve you, so come with me. But as the anbu reached for her, Gaara's sand encased his arm and he looked to the assailant. Do not touch her. Gaara spoke in almost a whisper to show that he was serious. I will escort her. And with that he released the anbu, and the anbu, not ready to die, retreated. Temari was smiling at her little brother. She couldn't help but feel happy he hadn't killed anything in a while, and also had become very protective of her and Konkuro. As the three walked through the halls they could feel the air get more and more intense, as if a death sentence was being issued. Do you guys feel that? Konkuro said as the air gave a dreaded feel, like when Gaara released his demon. Yeah, came Gaara's monotone. As bad as it felt for the other two, all Temari could do was gulp, because she knew whatever the council wanted it had to with her. It only got worse when they entered. All the counselors themselves looked nervous. At the center of the table was the temporary head counselor acting as a substitute for the Kazekage. He was by far the oldest, still fairly tall. He was bald, but his beard reached the floor even when standing, and his voice still held power despite the deception the years have had on him. Temari, daughter of the Kazekage, do you know why we called you? His booming voice demanded. She simply shook her head. We have called you in regard to the state of Suna. After the discovery of the late Kazekage, we tried to establish the alliance between us and Konoha. With their lack of a Hokage and our lack of a Kazekage, they refused on answering until they appointed a new Hokage, or at least until we sent a different sort of treaty to their council. Quote. What do you mean, head counselor? Temari felt something bad was coming, but she knew it might just be superstition from her years of ninja training. First, there is more to this. Do you remember your report on a Naruto Uzumaki? At this, Temari nodded. I've had my personal research team look into him. At the Konoha Academy he scored the lowest in everything up to the graduation exam. Temari's eye began to twitch. How could he use Jonin level jutsu when he couldn't even use academy level ones? But it stands to reason that this was caused by him being a Jinchuriki as well. Everyone's eye shot to the head counselor. But head counselor, if he too is a Jinchuriki, why did you? Spoke one of the other older men in complete confusion. The head counselor put his hand up to silence him. There's still more. After everyone was quiet again, he continued. He was assigned to train under the copy ninja Kakashi. Everyone's eyes widened at this. And the Toad Sage Jiraiya has taken him as a disciple. At this point the counselors were starting to sweat. And based on Temari's description on the toad he summoned during his battle with Gaara, it was the chief toad. At this point the others began to tremble. Temari was beginning to fear where this was going. She feared that this was the beginning of an assassination mission. The last report even said he's learned the fourth Hokage's legacy. The council looked at him with wide eyes. Yes, he learned the Rasengan and has found and earned the respect of their new Hokage, Tsunade of the legendary Three. She has even given him the first Hokage's necklace. From this information, it's quite possible we could have a second yellow flash of Konoha on our hands. Everyone was stunned. Now Temari, your mission is a triple S rank. She wanted to cry, she knew it. She and her brother were going to kill him before he could become the next yellow flash. After clamping her eyes shut and kept telling herself she wasn't going to do it, she couldn't do it. Is to marry and have children with Naruto Uzumaki. The emotions in the room were all over the map, ranging from pure fear from Kankuro to an unbelievable ease from Gaara, a sense of pity from the Anbu who heard the rumor of her and the boy from the Nara clan, and of course the dread of the council. How could they not be dreading her response? She herself was pretty strong. Kankuro was no pushover, and of course Gaara, his sudden change was no secret. After all, he put 12 Anbu in the hospital the day they got back when one of the Anbu called Temari a failure for not being able to keep Gaara under control. When was asked why, he said, "I will not tolerate someone insulting my family." So if she got upset, things would get ugly. Temari though was trying to piece things together in her head. Marry Naruto Uzumaki. Not that I complaining, but the way they went on about how he's developed and what he could be like in a few years, it sounded like they wanted me to kill him. As she walked into space and the council began squirming in their seats because they could tell what she was thinking, but Gaara did, and he was wearing an ever so slight smile. Temari was rerunning the moment she fell in love with him in her head. Granted, it wasn't the most graceful finishing blow, but the headbutt he gave Gaara only showed just how powerful his dedication and willpower were. The council froze as they saw a smile beginning to form on her. They thought for sure that she was ready to have Gaara and Kankuro help her paint the walls with their blood for having her assigned to this mission. I, Temari Sunagaku, accept this mission and will perform to the best of my ability. To say that Kankuro and the council were surprised would be the understatement of the century. With eyes as wide as dinner plates and jaws hitting the floor at the way she looked so happy. Temari, you don't have to do this if don't want to. And as she was going to off on some sprawl about her duty as a ninja, Gaara butted in with a simple "I approve" in his monotone. Temari was thanking him in her mind at this simple gesture, but Kankuro. Gaara, why would you approve of this? But before he could finish his thought, Gaara said his reason as to why. She has a crush on him. Everyone looked at the sand controller, not being able to believe it. What makes you think that, Gaara? Temari asked with a tomato blush. I read it in that handwritten book that you keep under your pillow. At that, Temari had an expression not unlike that which the Count C. Lors wore not but 5 minutes ago, and all was silent for about 30 seconds before Temari yelled at the top of her lungs. You read my diary. Now had Gaara been raised normally, he would not have asked what seems like a dumb question. What's a diary? It took Kankuro all his willpower not to laugh, while Temari and the council had sweat dropped at this, but Temari just sighed and decided to tell him later. Any details I need to know? The head counselor stood and began a rundown of what was to be done before her trip. You leave in 2 days. Kankuro will be copying the family scrolls for you, while Gaara will be helping prepare a banquet for you that is to double as your wedding shower. When you arrive at Konoha, introduce yourself to the new Hokage. That is all. Dismissed. And with that, the council left very confused as to what to just happened. The Sand siblings all went to do what they needed to. Temari headed to her room to pack, and her sensei Baki was there waiting. I'm going to help you pack, was all he said, and 3 hours of uncomfortable silence later they were done. Then Kankuro came by and gave her several scrolls. Then she went out. She went along a street she knew well, just staring off into space. Now this was common to the people of Hidden Sand, but he look on Temari's face was not. Her eyes were glazed over with an unnaturally happy smile, with a bit of drool coming from the left corner of her mouth. The news of her triple S rank mission spread like wildfire, but the important details, like the groom to be, were not. A group of kunoichi stops her from continuing on. They were people she had gone on missions with and came to be sort of friends with her. Wow girl, is the idea of marrying that Shikamaru guy really make you that happy? In her current state one would think that she had become catatonic, but that stat ement was enough to get her angry. Sigh, why does everyone think I like him? 'Cause I don't. I'm happy because I'm getting married to the guy the first like, which is Naruto Uzumaki. That name could send chills though the hidden sand village even on the hottest day. Every sand ninja was afraid of Naruto, not because he looked or acted in a scary way but because of what he did to Gaara even when he was in his perfect possession state. In short, Naruto was already the second most feared ninja in sand history, right behind the Yellow Flash himself. Mothers were even using Naruto in stories of what happens to bad children. So at the groom's name the group of 8 kunoichi found themselves shacking in fear of what would happen if he came here. TTTT, that monster. Now Temari was used to people calling her brother that, and she was ordered by her father to tolerate it, but the order was only on her brother, so she would not tolerate it about her husband. In less than a second after it was said, the offender found her face had become acquainted with the pavement. Courtesy of her battle fan. Do not call him that. She snarled. The ones still standing now knew and just nodded their heads. I had to listen to people call Gaara that. I won't listen to people call Naruto-kun that. The eyes of the female ninja went wide so fast they looked comparable to frogs. Temari was serious, she liked him. Well, good. You got he guy you like. Must the shortest member of the kunoichi. She was about the same height as Naruto but had long black hair with her arms, legs, and stomach covered in fishnet, and the rest of her was a basic black outfit. While her response made Temari happy, everyone else stared at her with a, "Are you crazy? Look, my wedding shower is tonight. You're all welcome provided you don't make any snide comments about Naruto-kun." The girls all nodded and ran off to get Temari her gifts. Meanwhile, Achoo, sniff, I must have a cold. Naruto said to no one in particular, but everyone had a bad feeling about going back to the village. Why do I feel that I should take Naruto off training? Sure, he'll need it later, but not right now. Just something's happening under our noses, thought Jiraiya. Why do I feel like smashing in skulls? Thought Tsunade. She been feeling it since the day started and Naruto kept sneezing. I wonder if I should give Naruto the talk. I doubt anyone else has, and I'm getting a weird feeling. Shuzune thought. Weird thoughts for sure, but she kept getting the idea that he needed it soon. Something big is going on, Naruto finally voiced. After hours more of walking, they finally see the great gates of Konoha. Now normally Naruto would take off running toward them the instant he saw them, but today he got a new type of forbidding. Normally he didn't care about the malice the village sent at him, and normally the guards would even try to prevent his returning. Today though would far from normal for Naruto. As soon as they neared the gate he readied himself for the usual attack, but when it didn't happen his first thought was it was because of Jiraiya and Tsunade were with him, but then he saw their smiles directed at him. The smiles weren't warm and compassionate, no, they were just as venomous as their angry glares. Hey Ba-chan. Quit calling me that. Something's wrong. What do you mean? Normally the guards attack me when I come back to the village. This comment caused Tsunade to start gritting her teeth. But they were smiling evilly. Never a good sign in a village of fools, came the voice of the old toad sage. You think something bad gonna happen? Tsunade's voice sounded calm, but she really was worried. Jiraiya simply nodded. Shuzune only felt worse in knowing that even Taunton oinked worriedly. The group's fears were only worsened when they reached the center of town, where the whole council of the Leaf Village was there to greet them, and most wearing the same evil smile as the guards. The elders stepped forward. We welcome you, Lady Tsunade, said the old man. Don't know their names. There is a matter that needs your immediate attention, said the old woman, handing over a scroll marked with triple S's all over it. Whoa. Ba-chan just got here and she already has to deal with such important stuff. Tsunade opened the scroll as if it was just another mission to be assigned, but as she read it her eyes started to widen. She clenched her jaw and began to grit her teeth. Geez, whatever it is, Ba-chan is pissed about it. Naruto hadn't seen Tsunade ever get so pissed. Even her old teammate Jiraiya was getting worried because the last time he saw that expression was when he got caught peeking on her before she nearly killed him. What is it, Tsunade? Not saying a word, she rolled up the scroll and shoved it into him. After a minute to rub his now bruised ribs, he opened it and began to read. Much to the surprise of Naruto and Shuzune, his reaction to whatever was in the scroll was almost the same as Tsunade's. His hair spiked like his needle Jezo Jutsu and his teeth seemed to get sharper. The killing intent coming off the two Sannin was enough to make the council nearly piss themselves. Here, Naruto. Jiraiya handed the scroll to him, which confused Naruto, but he took it and began to read. His face showed pure terror. At this, the two elders smirked. No way! Screamed the orange-clad ninja as he threw the scroll with so much force that when it collided with the elderly man's head, it caused him thrown back into the ground. Before anyone could do any more, Naruto took off at Shunshi-level speed. The council members who voted to force this arrangement were about to go after Naruto until they heard the head of the Nara clan tell Tsunade how each person voted. They looked to their fifth Hokage and she was wearing an evil grin and cracking her knuckles. They all called to Jiraiya for help. Hey Tsunade, go easy. This caused her to give him her evil glare and the council to sigh until he finished his sentence, because I want to wipe the floor with their facts, he said, cracking his own knuckles. That day was forever known as the cry of 1,000 tortured souls. The two Sannin were walking toward Naruto's house knowing he probably locked himself inside. But on the way, Jiraiya began to really think things over and sighed when he came to a very hard decision. Tsunade, we should have Naruto at least consider the offer. She turned her head towards him so fast if she didn't stop the movement she would have looked like she was trying to be an owl. What? Think about it. I've told you about the kid's love life. Yeah, you did. He likes a girl named Sakura. So why should he consider it? Even after he saved her from the Shukaku, she believed it was Sasuke who saved her. She was about to argue but was cut off. She always hits when he tries to be nice to her, which is all the time. She calls him names, and is obsessed with the last Uchiha, so no matter what he does, she has not and will not give him the love he wants. Hell, the love he deserves. Tsunade fell silent. If all that was true, then Naruto really should at least consider it. She thought for a while longer while they walked. Hey Jiraiya. Yes. What do you think of a vacation? Quote. ESSH. One day here and you're already want a vacation. Not me, you perverted baka. Naruto. This only got a raised eyebrow from Jiraiya. If he's to consider this seriously, he'll need to free of any distraction or the influence of the villagers. Jiraiya nodded his agreement. When they finally arrived, they snuck in knowing Naruto was probably scared shitless by the idea of the marriage to Temari, but packing to run away was overkill. Naruto, now planning to run away, would normally piss off most of the people he knew. He slowly began to turn around thinking it was Sakura planning to slug him for trying to ruin her chance to get his off her back. He was strangely relieved to his Ba-chan. Listen, I understand you being scared at the council trying to force this on you, but Jiraiya and I have decided that you should take some time and consider this. What? Naruto, please calm yourself and listen. Naruto did as he was asked to before Tsunade continued. I've heard all about Sakura and everything you always overlook in your infatuation with her. Naruto scrunched up his face in anger. How she hits you over nothing, calls you names, her obsession with the Uchiha kid, her lack of gratitude for when you saved her life, and her refusal of your love for her. You more than earned it. At this point you deserve it. Naruto was now staring out into space at the speech. Well, good thing you're packing. You'll be gone for 2 weeks. She put 2 of her fingers up for added affect. Huh. What? Tsunade sighed at this. I'm giving you a 2-week vacation starting tomorrow, and here. She then hands him a pile of bills. What's this for? For the money me and Jiraiya took from you and a lot more, because if you decide to take the mission I want you to get her a gift. Naruto nodded. Hey Tsunade ne-san. Tsunade snapped in his direction with a loving gaze. Yes. Sai, could I leave tonight? Her smile faltered but nodded. 15 minutes later. Konoha gates. Naruto gave his surrogate mother and sister a hug each, as well had the normal spat with his surrogate grandfather, then walked off. What's wrong, Tsunade? You should know better than anyone, you old perv. The three members of Naruto's family stood there for a while longer before turning into the village. Hey Tsunade. Yes. Want to make some hell for the holes? Tsunade smiled, knowing what Jiraiya had planned. Back to Naruto. Sai, what did I see in Sakura? I mean, how did manage not to see all that for so long? How could I be even that stupid? Because right before the emo Tem showed up, she was the first to show you friendship and you just clung to it. Quote. What? That's it. Yep, sorry. It's not you fault. I was being stupid. Everyone wants the stupid Uchiha just because of a bloodline. Want me to give you a bloodline? You can do that. Naruto was glad that he learned to speak in his head, cause if anyone had walked past him they would think he was nuts. Yeah. You see, I feel kind of bad for you, so I'll give one better than the Uchiha. It'll be ready by tomorrow. Anything I should know? Yeah, since I'm giving you a bloodline I have to remake your entire body from scratch. Huh. Basically I'm tearing you apart on a genetic level, something even your Hokage couldn't do. Will it hurt? No. How can I trust you? 2 reasons. 1. Demons can't lie, and 2. I've already started. Wow, anything else? Your hair will be longer and your eye will be pure blue. Why's that? Because you're basically being born again, and the eyes is Bekasu. You need a sign of your new bloodline. Cool, thanks. No problem. Oh, and I think you should marry the other girl. Naruto stopped in the middle of the road and thought about. Surprise, Sakura. Okay. The Kyuubi smiled, knowing that this was going to be end result anyway from the way the pink-haired bitch acted. Naruto starting at running at full speed to his destination, the land of waves. He felt something new, he didn't know what, but he kept going. After all, he had to think of a gift for his new girl. The next morning, land of waves. Naruto had fallen asleep in the woods and woke up early to discover his hair had changed. It was still spiky on top, but the sides and back reached his upper back. It was a strange cross between his father's and mother's hairstyle, but still pulled it off. His eyes' pupils were all deep, shiny blue. He looked at the bridge, remembering just about 2 months ago the bridge was just finished. He looked up and saw the name, and his smile softened and he continued on toward the town. Hey Kyuubi, what's my bloodline? No name for it, but I gave you the special abilities of the first and second Hokages. Naruto froze. The first and second, he couldn't believe it. Higher natural healing and much larger reserves of chakra. All that. Consider it an apology for your life and a wedding gift. Thanks. The fox smiled warmly, though no one could see it. Naruto arrived in the village and began to snicker at the sight before him. All the children had styles like him. Sasuke or Sakura. Many girls had put pink strips in their hair. One child noticed the new arrival and, looking very close, saw his whisker marks were real. Naruto's back. In the blink of an eye he was surrounded by kids all cheering to see the village hero, but someone pointed out the changes. Hey Naruto, why do you look so different? Oh, it my bloodline. Several of they started to oh and ah. What's it do? Is as good as Sasuke's. That made Naruto absolutely pissed. It's always about Sasuke, I'll show them. Single quote. Better. Naruto then walked out onto the lake that surrounded the village and, making one hand sign, a tree standing over 30 feet tall emerged in just 1 minute. This sent waves of astonishment, though not only the kids but the adults who had gathered. After reaching the shore again, Naruto threw a kunai with 3 explosive tags on it. When it made contact, the kunai caused a massive explosion. When the dust settled, it reveled the tree didn't even have a scratch on it, once again casing great shock to the people. Then suddenly turning around gathered water around his arm without using any hand signs and performed the second Hokage's legendary move, hardened water drill, reducing the tree to nothing but slivers of wood. The village stared at the orange-clad hero who was more powerful than ever. "Is that really you, Naruto?" asked a little voice that Naruto to be Inari. Tazuna. "Yo, Inari, been a while, how things been?" Inari said nothing and continued to stare at his hero. Tazuna walks up with his usual stoic expression. "Hey kid, things been going great for the village, but what are you doing here?" "I'm on a mandatory vacation before I take up a triple S rank mission for my village." Tazuna's expression was priceless to Naruto, as his jaw dropped and his eyes went wide and sweat began to pour from his temples. His reaction was understandable given that the Land of Waves mission was classified as an A- rank but now a triple S, the very idea of that scared the hell out of him. Naruto could easily see the fear in Tazuna and decided to put his mind at ease. "Don't worry, it's not really dangerous, just important." "What could be that important?" "The Hidden Leaf and Hidden Sand are trying for an alliance, but the councils of the two villages have agreed that a political marriage would make the alliance much stronger." After revealing his next mission, several of the village girls began to complain. "Naruto, you're getting married," shouted one girl while another called, "That's no fair. I wanted to marry Naruto." Several other similar cries made Naruto give a small smile. I never would have guessed that I'd be popular with girls of any village, even if they're just kids. Hey, pervy sage would have a field day if he learned of this. "Hey Tazuna. Do you any good weapon makers?" Quote. "Yeah. Why? I've decided even if this marriage is being forced on us, the least I can do for her is treat it like a real one." All of the adults in the village smiled at the 13-year-old ninja. He was being serious to a girl he was being forced to marry. That sort of commitment was rare these days, so they could only hold more respect for his decision. This way. And the two of them walked off to find the smith. On the simple lake of Inari's house stood about 100 Narutos stood. Since his arrival he immersed himself in training. While his 100 or so clones did several chakra control exercises, water walking, on water meditating, needle spinning, leaf concentration, etc. The real one stood off to the side holding a Rasengan in each of his hands. With his eyes closed he looked calm and collected, but on the inside he was getting very excited about returning. He was sure no one could recognize him by anything except his chakra. Naruto, now standing a couple of inches taller with shoulder-length hair and brand new cloths. He wore a long dark orange outfit, Gaara's from Shippuden part except dark orange, and over it a jacket like the fourth Hokage's but black with light blue flames at the bottom and a mask like Kakushi's. Suddenly his eyes snapped open. Naruto hadn't completely left the village as he left a clone behind just in case something bad happened. The clone had just dispersed and Naruto was given the knowledge that almost all the Junin had left the village and they were under attack. "I need to go." With that, Naruto dispersed all the clones on the lake and ran into the house. After a quick explanation he summoned two toads and asked for one to reverse summon him and one to stay here and get the gift when it was finished. After one last goodbye to Inari, Naruto disappeared in a puff of smoke. Area change. Hidden Leaf. Wind Scythe Jutsu. With that, Temari had hit 5 goons, but all turned out to be just a more advanced version of the clone that acts like the shadow clone but was still just a genjutsu. Damn, more of these clones. With her guard lowered she didn't notice the real ninja until they were too close to blow away. Rasengan. Came two voices, both the same, and when Temari opened her eyes she saw the two enemy ninja flying in a spinning motion. With the turn of her head she saw a speck of yellow running down the street. Naruto. She knew that the Hokage had sent him on a vacation, where to nobody knew. Area change. Hokage's Manor. Tsunade was surrounded by 50 of the unusual clones and was panting. Too cowardly to face me, so you hide. Cowards we may be, but clever cowards. Tsunade's eyebrow twitched. These close had the annoying habit of completing each other's sentence. Deep forest devastation. The cry had caught both Tsunade and the enemy ninja off guard. In moments, trees had grown everywhere, catching all the clones and the real one. You bastard. Let Mo go. Naruto walked slowly toward the nin while charging a Rasengan in his right hand and with a look that promised much pain he told the enemy, "How dare you attack the Hidden Leaf Village? You will pay for your crime." Rasengan. Who are you? How do you know my grandfather's jutsu? And the Rasengan. Cool it, Ba-chan. Tsunade's eye once again began to twitch. Hey. No one calls me Ba-chan, expect Naruto. After Naruto nodded, Tsunade's jaw had practically fell off her face. What happened? You look different. Naruto gave her a double-eye smile. Let's talk in your office. After all, what I have to say is S-ranks assert. Tsunade nodded her understanding and got up. After entering Tsunade's office, she put security seals and sat down ready to hear Naruto's explanation. Well, after I left, I thought about what you said, and decided that you were right and moved on. The Kyuubi gave me a bloodline. I've decided to marry Temari, but I want to wait until her gift is ready. Tsunade sat and listened carefully but was a little wary of the idea of Naruto having a bloodline. Naruto, when did you get this bloodline? Before I got to my Bactian spot. Why? Sigh, then news of your bloodline must have reached the council by now. I see. Area change. Konoha council room. The demon brat has gained a bloodline ability. Shouted a worried civilian member. What should we do about him? He's now more dangerous than ever. Shouted another. All of the civilians were worried, but all of the shinobi were thinking of how to use this as an advantage over other villages and it. As Danzo, who finally called out an idea. I believe we should put the Clan Restoration Act into play. This enraged the civilian members. What? How can you suggest such a thing, Danzo? The boy has strong loyalty to this village, and according to what my informants told me, there's a reason. The key. P.S. calling the Hokage Ba-chan, as his bloodline gives him the well-known wood-style jutsu. After some murmuring, one called for a vote and they began their decision. Naruto was in a bad mood. First he had to return early, then there was the commotion in Tsunade's office, and now a summons from the Leafs Council. Flashback jutsu. Lady Tsunade, did you hear there's some guy who not registered in our archives who's still wearing R symbol? The pink hair annoyance was silenced by the sight of the ninja that now had half of Konoha worried. What's he doing here? He is one ours. His profile just hasn't been updated yet. This caused a look of understanding to come from both Sakura and Ino, who was right behind her pink-haired companion. They both took the time to take in his features and they both found themselves drooling. Tsunade, though, thought he looked like an odd cross between Kakashi and a shorter-haired version of Jiraiya. After a couple of once-overs by Ino, she decided to put on the charm. Hey there, hot stuff, Ino said as she walked up to Naruto, swaying her hips in the most seductively as she could. How would like to go out sometime? Naruto, though he looked stoic on the outside, on the inside he was rolling around laughing at her antics, but then he thought of something he thought would be funny. Sorry, I'm engaged. The young blonde looked crushed. Ain't that Tsunade, hi am I? And with turn and a wink, the two girls looked. They had walked in on the most disgusting thing in the world, and the two actually fainted when the old drunk retuned the wink. The two proceeded to burst out laughing. That was a good one, geeky. Thanks, Ba-chan. Then out of nowhere an Anbu appeared. You have been summoned to the council. And with that he left. Flashback end. He had a fair idea what they wanted. They probably wanted him and Temari to start fucking like rabbits and then use their children as human weapons, not on his what. Ch. After tearing into the room looking pissed as all hell, he just got to his point. What the fuck do you people want? This had greatly angered many on the civilian council while the ninja clan heads found it amusing. Lord Senju, please lower your voice. That caused confusion for both Naruto and Tsunade. I'm not of the Senju clan, yelled an annoyed Naruto. Actually you are, as your ability to use the wood release style proves your relation to Tsunade, making you the heir of the Senju line. Naruto was about to retort when a bodiless voice interrupted. That's not all. In a poof of smoke stood Jiraiya. He's also the son of Minato Namikaze, the fourth Hokage, and the son of Uzumaki Kushina, the princess of Whirlpool, and if he can indeed use the first Hokage's jutsu, then he's the heir of 3 clans. At this point the civilian council was smirking, with him not only being the last of the Namikaze, who by itself was reason for CRA, but 2 other clans and has a bloodline. Now then Naruto-sama, as are the last of 2 clans and the heir and last for the Senju, you are to take multiple wives. I refuse, was Naruto's simple reply. You have no choice as the matter. This is the council where everyone voted in favor it. What? Ba-chan, help me here, will you? After an aspirating sigh Tsunade replied, sorry Naruto, I still about a week before I'm going to be officially sworn in as Hokage, so until then I have no say. Naruto looked almost ill, then she even continued, even if I did have a say in this I would be for it. Baa-chan. Listen Naruto. Before this I was the last Senju and I can't have children anymore, so someone needs to bring back the Senju and you're the only opt. Ion. Naruto sighed and nodded in defeat. You will be required to have no less than 5 wives and they can be civilian or ninja. It's your choice. Now you are also to be given your family estate and scrolls and 3 seats on the council and anything else that you are entitled to. They had him. He was in their trap, or so they thought. Each member of the civilian council began to plot to make the power of Naruto's family their own. With everyone thinking he was a fool, Naruto searched their eyes only to see greed and power lust. The one who fit this description better than anyone else was an elderly man named Danzo, but Naruto could tell that what he wanted was slightly different than the rest. Watch out for that one kid. Why? I know he has the most power lust I've ever seen, but trust me, I think I know what he's planning. Gulp. What? To use your offspring as human weapons? Naruto froze at that, then with a moment was filled with a righteous rage. No, never. They are my children, my family. No one touches them. If they do, I'll kill them. The fox smiled at his desire to protect what was his, even if the little powerhouses weren't even conceived yet. Then tell them that. Make them understand what will happen if they mess with your kids. Even during his chat with his tenant, he still heard the council continued. We also believe after your children are born they should be specially trained by donzos. The poor man never got to finish as Naruto lammed his hands together like he was prying an out of the very table that surrounded the room. Wooden spikes shoot out, and with the ultra-sharp spikes held the civilian council in place, each of them knowing if they moved they would die, kept still and waited for Naruto to speak. Listen here, assholes. No one, I repeat, no one but me and my wives decide what happens with our kids, and if anyone even thinks of trying to convince me otherwise, I will kill them before they can even begin to regret it. And with that, Naruto stormed out back to the Hokage's office. Tsunade's office. Naruto had pulled out one of Tsunade's hidden sake bottles and took a large gulp as the 2 Sannin walked in, not in the least surprised. You okay, kid? Asked the Toad Sage. I guess, Kyuubi said. The crippled guy looked like he was planning something for my kids. Not gonna happen. The 2 old ninja couldn't help but smile. Naruto, about earlier. Naruto raised his hand to hold her. I understand, Ba-chan. If there are no Senju left, those bastards would use everything of the Senjus to help themselves. Then Temari entered, having heard word of Naruto's changes and his being given the enjoyment of the CRA, and needed to talk to him. Naruto. Naruto showed his head toward the semi-soft voice and saw his first of his future brides standing in the doorway. Hey Temari, I guess we need to talk. Temari nodded and walked over, took a seat and told about his trip, his new bloodline and what he gathered about the council. I see things have gotten hard, huh? What's your plan? She wondered if he was just going just gather women to satisfy his primal urges. First, I'm going to get even in a subtle way, showing off his most sinister smirk. They will get nothing from us, Ba Chan 1. Yeah, can you move all my money to an account only I can access? Of course. Do you know how much your parents left? Know how much? 80 of the Leaf's total treachery and stocks belongs to you. The only knowledge of this is a account book to Monader to make sure your money wasn't being EMB. Ezzled. Bet those fools thought they could keep bleeding you dry by using it for themselves well. Any more. Naruto was in plain shock by how much money he had, as was Temari her shock from the fact that the Hidden Leaf, the wealthiest of the 5 great nations, was 80% Naruto's. One more thing, Ba Chan. Yes. Could you give me Sanin traveling rights? Why? The council never said I could only marry women of Konoha. Everyone in the Hokage's room gained a satisfied smirk knowing that they were going to cause a lot of problems. All right. I'll give you, and whatever brats you will eventually have Sanin traveling rights and access to the Hokage's and Jonin's vaults. To Naruto, that was all he needed to really start a ruckus in the Hidden Leaf. As Naruto and Temari started to leave, Tsunade threw a map at Naruto. Your new home is marked on that map. The seal will only open for you, and even the compound walls have protection seals to stop intruders. Enjoy. Quote. The walk to their new home was quite the whole way, but this because Naruto was talking with Kyuubi. Any ideas of where to look for good wife material? There are 2 or 3 here. Anyone I know. Single quote. Of course, the first you are obligated to. Huh. Sai Hinata Huga. You know, always blushes at anything you do, stutters, passes out when you come within 5 feet. You nuts. Huh. She's from a noble clan, her father would never allow it. Yes, he would. You're a noble now, he can't tell her to say no. Besides, you owe it to her, she'd literally die without you. What do you mean? I've been using our link and I've heard people talking about how she locked herself in her room, refusing to leave on her father's orders, and she also not eating. If that continues, she will die. That caused Naruto to shudder so slightly only someone with eyes that could spot a penny at the bottom of a lake could see. Alright. Who else? Well, we can't trust most families in the Leaf, so women with no family is a good choice, and if you want to get back at the assholes, get someone who hated almost as much as yourself. Naruto thought about for a minute. Who is hated almost as much as me? The only person I can think of is. Hey, you can't mean her, can you? Single quote. Yes, she was the snake bastard student, has no family, and let's face it, we both know she's lonely, and the old farts would lose their minds if she was chosen to help build you father's clan. The fox finished with a giggle. Fine, fine, the last one. I think Shizune would be good to help with the Senju clan. Yuck. What's with that reaction? She's like an older sister to me. She's the only one which could really help with the Senju, as she is the student of one, and she's the only one would treat the clan the right way. Lazily sold. I'm not giving those bastards have even a glint of hope of getting their grimy hands on my clans. Good. Now talk to that girl, she looks a little uneasy. Naruto looked at Temari, and it was true, she did look something was bothering her. At first he tried to say something, but after 2 or 3 failed attempts he put his hand on her shoulder, causing her to freeze and look at him. His now all blue eye kept her from turning away. Sorry about all of this, I didn't know anything like this was going to happen. She turned around and hugged him without warning, nuzzling into his neck, and kept whispering, "It's okay. And not your fault." Naruto wrapped his arms around her and led her to their new home from the outside walls. It looked small. It was practically wedged in between the Hyuga compound and the home of some rich guy Fro the Conch. The door to had a strange pattern on it. Naruto managed to piece together the idea that it was a blood seal. With the bite of his finger he wiped his blood on it. A moment later the doors swung open. Naruto and Temari were speechless. From the outside it looked tiny, but the inside was easily twice the size of the Uchiha compound. Temari was sputter some nonsense while Naruto figured it out. That's not surprising. Temari looked at him like he had grown 3 extra heads. My father was said to be a seal master, and his most famous jutsu was based on time-space manipulation. Temari nodded and they went to the main house. Temari. Naruto inquired after they get situated. Yes, Naruto-kun. The new suffix caught Naruto off guard for only a moment before he continued. I've been talking to Kyuubi and know who else I'm going to ask before we head to the Sand Village to inform them of the changes. Temari smiled. She had missed the sand already and wanted to see her brothers. Who did you chose? She asked a little wary as her mind wandered back to the Chunin exam when a pink-hair bitch of teammate hit him for no reason and began to pray that he didn't chose her. Hinata Hyuga, Anko Mitarashi, and Shizune. Why them? Hinata would die without me literally. Anko is hated in the village almost as much as me, and Shizune was the student of an actual senju. After I propose to them we'll head to Sand, okay? Yeah. Let's go. With that they both headed out ready to start their journey. Engagements and honeymoons. Naruto and Temari walked out of the Namikaze estate just as Neji went flying out a window and crashes into the ground. Neji. What happened to you? Lady Hinata. Speak to Lord Hiashi. Naruto and Temari walk into the Hyuga estate main building. See a very worn out clan head. Hey Hiashi. What's the matter? Now while most of the Hyuga clan would have been offended, he wasn't. He knew how familiar Naruto was with people and he hoped that Naruto being here would help with the Hyuga clans. Little problem. Ah Naruto. Good timing, we need your help. Huh. What wrong? It's Hinata. Since the news of your engagement to the sand girl, she's hidden herself in her room refusing to eat. Not only that, whenever someone tries to make her feel better they suffer consequences. The whole branch family has tried and all have ended up like Neji, as well as half of main branch, myself included. The one who got the worst was a fool who started off by calling you the demon child, and Hinata completely mangled his chakra network, broke his ribs and both arm, along with giving him a large concussion, and he is still in the coma she put him in. Naruto and Temari stared at him for a minute until Naruto fell over laughing. I'll be back, said Naruto as he walked off to Hinata's room. I still can't believe that little shy girl did all that, said Temari trying to image it. Hell, have no fury like a woman scorned, said Hiashi with a very dead expression. Especially when it looks like they just made a new jutsu which by looks alone could be named 640 palms. That got Temari laughing. Hinata's room. Knock knock knock. Hinata. Open up, it's me Naruto. At the mention of it being Naruto she opened her door, but only a crack. She could tell even with his new appearance that it was indeed Naruto. Hey Hinata, can we talk? She nodded. You see, some stuff happened and I've got a bloodline now, so the council its wisdom decided to put me under the CRA, and I was wondering. Hinata's eyes widened at where this conversation on was going. Would you marry M? Bwok. Naruto didn't even finish as he was tackled with a hug right through a wall, leaving a rather big hole. After trying to figure out what mountain hit him, he looked down to see a tangled blue mess holding onto him, and her face showed the lack of substance and fat. Eeg. Hinata. Did it really hurt you that much? Would you really have died? Naruto had taken the fox as being exaggerated, but he saw for himself that it wasn't. After taking the unconscious Hinata to her father, he told him he leave a clone to help her move into their new home while he went to finish his proposals. Naruto left the Hyuga household for the local dango shop to find Konoha's snake charmer. When he arrived, she was of course there eating dango and drinking red bean soup. Hey crazy, called Naruto, not using anything that could offend her and give her reason to hurt him like SNA. Hey mistress, or snake bitch, or just bitch. Hey kid, you need something. Yes actually, but please not here, it's confidential, for now. She nodded and they both took off for the most private place for them, the forest of death. So what's up? Asked Anko as she popped another dango into her mouth. As by now you no doubt know that I was the one to stop the invasion. She nodded. When I did so I reviled my bloodline. She nodded again, and the old bats who run the leaf found necessarily to force CRA on me. Now she was confused. You're one of only women I trust, so I ask you to please marry me. Anko sat there for a minute, then looked at the sky, then back to Naruto. Why not? She replied. But why do you trust me? Quote, we are both shunned for things that are beyond our control. Besides, I want to the look on the old bastards' faces when I name you the one to bear the next heir of the Namikaze clan. Naruto finished with a smile beneath his mask. Why would they care about that? You're the former student of the Snake Tem and they just plan hate us, and if it's you who will bear the children for their most noble clan and family of their favorite hero, they will feel insulted that it wasn't one of their daughters. Strangely, this caused Anko to smile. That's prefect. I've been trying to get back at those jerks for forever. Alright, move your stuff into the Namikaze compound and I'll be back. Sure. Then both ran off to what they needed, but had anyone got a good look at Anko's face they would have seen that she, like any to be married, was quite happy after all. With her past she had given up on the idea that she would ever have a husband or children. Hokage's office. It was typical day in the Hokage's office, Tsunade trying to drink and avoid paperwork, while Shizune preventing her master from drinking and forcing her to do the paperwork. It was this strange balance that Naruto disturbed. Hey Ba-chan. Hey Shizune. Hey brat. Hello Naruto. Is there something you need? Yeah. Shizune, can I talk to you? Quote. Of course Naruto. After they found an empty room and locked the door, and Naruto took a deep breath to calm himself. Shizune. Did Tsunade inform you of the meeting yesterday? She replied in the positive. Did she tell of what they don't know? Her response was the same. Alright, because I've been given the names Namikaze and Senju. I've been put under the laws of the CRA and need at least 5 wives, and you're one of the only girls not to look down on me and then praise Sasuke lets me know that you don't think so little of me. She smiled at him, showing his less secure side. So would you marry me? Naruto, are you sure? Naruto, not trusting his voice, nodded. Then yes. By this point she had a Hinata blush. Gee, you guess we should tell Tsunade. Quote. No need. I was eavesdropping. Called the Hokage as the locked door swung open. She held a bottle of sake and 3 cups. This calls for a celebration. The 2 victims each gave her a nasty glare. Lady Tsunade. You should not be listening on other people, yelled a red-faced Shizune. Why not? I knew what was going on anyway. How's that? Asked the 2 in sync. Simple. Starts to fill the cups, the list of people who have been nice enough to him to be even considered for marriage's path. Tickly short. She finished with a sad smile. But enough of that. Let's drink. Lady Tsunade. Naruto is still too young. Please. He has been an adult since he received the leaf headband. You should know that. So quit stalling, and let's drink. Tsunade already had her cup in the air, and the other 2 sighed and picked theirs up and did the usual cheers gesture. So brat, who else did you ask? Shizune began to listen herself, quite interested in who her co-wives were. Hinata and Anko. They both nodded. They could see reason to ask each of them. Anko was someone who could relate to Naruto, and Hinata was a kind, caring, and nurturing soul which Naruto needed, considering the way he lived his life until recently. Get ready, Shizune. For what? A trip? Our first stop. The hidden sand village. He said while pointing in the direction of said village, earning a chuckle from the other 2. Pack up and met us at the village gate in about an hour. Naruto then ran off to get the others ready. Shizune sighed and went to get ready. It's still going to be a while before he's completely calm. When you get to the gate, tell Naruto and the others to return to the Hokage mansion. He forgot that we need to reintroduce him to the public first. Quote. Yes, Lady Tsunade. Back at the Namikaze compound. The three brides-to-be were getting packed for the trip when Naruto came through the door. Hey, you guys ready? Not yet, Naruto. And don't you still need to pack? Asked Temari. Naruto started to ruffle though his jacket and pulled out a storage scroll. Nah, I've got everything sealed in here. They all nodded and pulled out their own storage scrolls and sealed their possessions into them. Can't believe I never thought of that before, said Enko as she rubbed the back of her head. The other giggled slightly. Hinata walked up to Naruto doing her usual gesture with her index fingers. She was about to speak but Naruto beat her to the punch. Hinata stopped that. He grabbed her hands and put them at her sides. There's no need to be so nervous in front of your future husband, and would the three of you sit down because we need to talk before we head off. The three did as they were asked. What's up? You want to talk about sleeping arrangements? Asked Enko, which in turn caused a red-faced Hinata and Temari. Not that there are details that are regarded as S-rank secrets that you three have the right to know before you decide to actually marry M.E. This caused all three to put on serious expressions. 13 years ago the four Hokage fought and killed the Kyuubi no Kitsune. That's what people our age and other villages have been told, but the truth is that it could only be sealed into a newborn. That newborn was me, and because of me holding the fox I'm being hunted by a group of S-rank criminals and they may also try to do you harm. To survive we all must become stronger. He looked into the eyes of his chosen three and saw steeled resolve. That's it. Damn kid, I'm trying to kill a guy like that myself, came Enko's response. They will likely go after my brother, so I would need to get stronger anyway. I don't care about the fox, but I want. Let them have you, Hinata said as confidently as possible. Naruto pulled down his mask. His face no longer had any baby fat and his whisker marks were more defined, giving him a feral look. Thank you. All of them smiled and the atmosphere was a calming but intensely loving one. They all finished what they needed to do for a long trip and headed for the gate. When they arrived, Shizune was already there with a bag containing spare cloths, some ninja tools and several scrolls to help them train, but she kept that bit of information to herself for the moment. Naruto, we need to go back to the Hokage's manor. We still need to make your heritage public knowledge. Naruto's shoulders sank. He didn't like the idea of everyone knowing, cause they would all shout things like, the demon can't be a clan head, or, how dare the demon claim to be the fourth son? Nothing but depressing issues. Do we have to? I'd rather not hear the public's thought on that. Shizune sighed. She knew he wouldn't want to have that reviled while he was still here, but this way he could get the benefit of seeing the shock on the people's faces when they learned that Naruto owned most every shop, restaurant, and the hospital itself, since Naruto's father bought it so he could legally work the funds as he saw fit. Yes, we do now, come on. She grabbed his hair as she walked by to ensure that he followed. The others followed as well. Meanwhile, on training ground 7, with Kakashi and Sasuke, Sakura had just ran up to them as they were training. The two were extremely annoyed because Kakashi was out of the village during the invasion and Sasuke had nearly been killed after using all of his chakra. He was saved by a guy in a long black jacket with blue flames. Yes, a Naruto clone. What's the matter, Sakura? The new guy, the one who stopped the invasion, he was flirting with Lady Hokage. So he injured now? Quote. No. She flirted back. Kakashi dropped his book. It was an unwritten law, but everyone knew it. Flirt with Tsunade and you die. An Anbu appeared out of nowhere and handed Kakashi a scroll, then disappeared. After a minute he shrugged and opened it. What does it say, Kakashi-sensei? Every resident of the Leaf, Ninja or not, is to report in front of the Hokage's manor for an important announcement, no exceptions. He shrugged again and walked off for the mentioned location, and the other two followed suit. Outside the Hokage's manor, everyone in the village had gathered wondering what was going on. Tsunade's inauguration wasn't for another week. The older generations were all hoping the demon child was being thrown out. Then Tsunade and the two old advisors appeared into view. Now I know that you are all wondering why I called you here. I have something important to inform you of. We have found another descendant of the Senju clan, who is also the son the fourth Hokage and the crown prince of Whirlpool Country. The crowd was stunned. No one voiced it. No one knew that the fourth had a child, much less a wife, who was a Senju and queen of a country. It has been decided that he was to be put under the Clan Restoration Act in Temari. Why no less than 5 wives? The purpose of me calling you today is to introduce him and the wives he has chosen so far. The older Haruno woman began to rub her hand in a very greedy manner. Everyone knew what she was thinking. Get Sakura married off to this guy and they'd have all the power anyone could hope to have. The crowd was cheering to meet the son of their hero. They won't be cheering for long, thought Naruto as his head sank. The girls saw this and tried to help him feel better. He tried. He had a reason to be depressed. The people would probably try to have him killed for claiming to be the fourth son. Very well, allow me to introduce Naruto Namikaze Uzumaki Senju and his brides-to-be. As the 5 who were mentioned appeared on the stage, the crowd had gone silent from the mention of Uzumaki. Naruto was in front of Tsunade, no mask, so they could see the evidence of who he was. After a minute so they could take it in, they were outraged, and as expected the civilians began to call F. or Naruto's death for the lie that was announced. The riot was soon squashed by Tsunade's booming voice. Any more of that and I'll have you all executed. Silence once again. We have evidence. I was the one to bring Naruto into this world. We also have the blood work and a signed birth certificate from the fourth himself, claiming Naruto to be his son, and as such he has claimed his inheritance. The deeds to almost all the restaurants, all the ninja tool shops, most civilian shops, the hospital, the ninja academy, and all the private possessions of the 3 mentioned clans. Everyone went wide-eyed. Naruto owned the leaf now. He could deny them anything, even things they needed to live. Even though the crowd was silent, a wave of malice could be felt from several senior ninja, one of which was Kakashi. Though he would never say it out loud, he was just as prejudiced and was now going to kill Naruto silently before the people to save them from the demon. He melted into the crowd and hid on the Hokage's tower and charged up a lighting blade without letting anyone sense his chakra, or so he thought. As Naruto's sharpened senses allowed him to smell Kakashi's chakra build up. As Kakashi charged at speed to make him a blur, Naruto caught the offending hand. This stopped both his attack and his heart in fear. Care to explain your actions, Kakashi? Asked a very angry Hokage. He's a demon. He can't be my sensei's son. Naruto then delivered a powerful kick to Kakashi's chest as he grew a tree in the flight path. Kakashi crashed into it and it grew branches around him, wrapping around every limb and even each finger to ensure that no jutsu could be used. You attacked an heir of my family, said Tsunade with a nasty growl. To attack an heir to a clan is an S-rank crime, and do you know the penalty? Kakashi became pale, then Naruto added his 2 cents. For traitors there is only death, Hatake. It was said with so much venom that it sent chills through the village. You can't kill him, came the smug voice of Sasuke. He needs to train me in the use of my Sharingan, so back off, dope. He said with a large smile as if he just got Kakashi off the hook. Well, Uchiha, what he did is an S-rank offense, and trying to stop his punishment makes you an accomplice, and therefore, you die too. Naruto's tone became sickeningly sweet at the last part, which made Sasuke a little nervous. How dare you threaten me, weakling? Sasuke said as he sent a fireball at Naruto and began to chuckle as he thought that he burned the only one who pushed him alive. His little delusion was crushed when he saw Naruto standing where he was before completely unfazed. What? How could you? Before he finished, a tree wrapped itself around Sasuke like Kakashi. Both are traitors, huh? I should have known. Lady Hokage, allow me to kill the traitors. Tsunade smiled for only a moment, then it was gone. Though I'd love to. The council is insistent on the Uchiha's reproduction. Naruto mumbled something incoherent under his breath. Then walked to the edge of the building and looked over the silent crowd who witnessed everything. Then walked over to his wives. Fine, but. He then appeared to throw something that headed for Kakashi's Sharingan eye and destroyed it. I won't let a traitor to hold something like that. Lady Hokage, I leave the rest to you. And with that the five disappeared in a swirl of fire. Well, now to deal with the two of you, Tsunade said with a sinister smile. Sasuke was hoping that being an Uchiha would save him. Kakashi hoped that Naruto injuring him would save him. They were both wrong. Gates of the Leaf Village. Five-figure appeared out of nowhere. Even with a mask anyone could tell Naruto was pissed off. Though they all wanted to help him feel better, but they knew there is nothing they could do to do that. Then slicing his thumb and went though a normal series of hand seals, him and his girls were now on top of a giant toad and Naruto of another smaller toad. Gorshi-sai, what you doing here? The toad looked up to his boss and spitting out a large box replied. Your delivery. Any orders before I go? Naruto scratched his chin. He knew it wasn't fair to give a gift only to Temari. He have to order something for each. Then pulling out a scroll wrote his order. Dear Mr. Orshiduro, Smith, Naruto visited while in wave. I now must ask for your services again. I'm in need of a pair of gloves that would help draw chakra out and control it to a needle point, and a Senbon launcher that can make them from chakra and even give them a poisoned effect and make it lie. T waited. Thanks, Naruto Uzumaki. Tapping his chin again in thought. I don't really know about how Anko fights. I'll figure out something for her later. Naruto rolled up the scroll and told the toad to bring the scroll back to the old man. The toad nodded and puffed away. The chief toad coughed to get some attention. So what did you call me for, kid? Hoping down to face the chef himself, Naruto sat on his knees at attention. We are hoping that you could carry us to Suna with a jump or two. Quote. Sure, kid, but who are the others on my head? I've now been told I had to marry many wives and these are them. They came down to be introduced. This is Temari. She bows. Hinata bows. Shizune bows. And Anko gives a large arc hand upward. What's up? The toad had to smile. Kamishi was just like Naruto was normally. Alright everyone, get ready. Everyone began to pour chakra into their feet. With one giant leap they cover nearly a third of the distance. After 3 more jumps they reached the gates of Suna. After introducing themselves to the guards they went to the Kage's office to speak with Gaara. Naruto's new look had surprised Gaara and his brother, especially the pure blue pupils. While Gaara was understanding of the situation, Kankuro was furious and tried to attack Naruto only to be blown clear out of Suna by Temari's fan. After a few good laughs they all headed to the Kage's compound. Naruto and the girls took the largest room and bed so they could all fit. Now who's sleeping where? Asked the purple-haired one who removed both her jacket and skirt leaving her in only a mesh outfit that reached about where the skirt's bottom had been. Naruto groaned. He had been dreading this. Temari was possessive. Anko was pretty dominant. Shizune was protective. And Hinata was likely to shy to say anything in this. Naruto will sleep in the middle with Temari on his left and Hinata on the right. Came the group's medic. Everyone gave her a shocked expression. Then she pulled Anko to the side. Temari has been waiting for this chance and Hinata once believed this chance gone forever. Anko just nodded and told the other, to get your moving cause I'm tired, and everyone got into bed. Naruto was a little uncomfortable, but that's to be expected when during childhood the only contact you got was beatings and being literally thrown out of stores. Both Temari and Hinata were cuddlers, he found out after only a couple of minutes. Both were content using him as a pillow and they seemed like they were having the best sleep they've had in a while. The other two also looked quite content. Naruto just shrugged. It didn't matter why they were happy, as long as they were happy. He decided to focus on sleeping. Tomorrow was a big day. After all, it would take effort to make an oasis.